Topping today's news, Prime Minister Davis gives advice to residents as Hurricane Milton moves closer. The Attorney General says the backlog of criminal cases being cleared up. Halkitis defends Inland Revenue seizing property, and 4 men charged with the robbery of U.S. missionaries in the Gambia area. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It's definitely a pleasure to have you join us. As Hurricane Milton moves closer to Florida, a tropical storm warning remains in effect for islands of the northern Bahamas. Residents on the islands of Bimini, Grand Bahama, and Abaco, including all of the surrounding keys and waters, you're urged to continue preparations for possible tropical storm conditions that will begin by tonight with winds in excess of 40 miles per hour, thunderstorms that will produce heavy rainfall and flooding with tornadic activity. Prime Minister Philip Davis last night said that all citizens and residents in the path of Hurricane Milton should focus on staying safe and stock up on essential supplies. He said Family Island administrators, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the National Youth Guard, the Ministry of Works, and all other major agencies are on standby and are ready to respond and deploy resources as needed to protect and support our communities. For those of you in Florida, the government of the Bahamas is coordinating efforts with our consular office, and Bahamian associations that are in Florida to provide assistance wherever possible. Meanwhile, the University of the Bahamas and all schools on New Providence, Andros, and the Berry Islands, as well as Abaco and Grand Bahama, Bimini, Grand Key, and Eleuthera are all closed until Friday. The Clearing Banks Association has announced that banking operations on Grand Bahama and Abaco will be closed on Thursday as well. The Department of Aviation has also announced the closure of all airports on Bimini, Abaco, and Grand Bahama. Here is Director of Aviation, Deputy Director General of Tourism, Dr. Kenneth Romer, with more details.
As aviation stakeholders, we continue to monitor the impact of Hurricane Milton and have therefore taken a collective decision to close several airports. Among them will be the Mars Harbor International Airport that will close at official sunset today. Reopens on the 11th of October at 10 a.m. Tropical storm winds are expected to be between 40 to 58 miles per hour. Treasure Key airports, Morris Island Airport, and Sandy Point airports will also be closing officially on the 9th of October this evening at the official sunset, reopening at 10 a.m. on the 11th of October. Grand Bahama International Airport will close officially at 8 p.m. This evening, opening again at 10 a.m. on Friday, the 11th of October. And Bimini International Airport has closed at 2 p.m. today and will officially open at sunrise on the 11th of October. If there are changes to this update, we will certainly notify the public. Once again, the safety and security of all of our airport users, including passengers, airlines, and colleagues, remain a shared priority. And again, our prayers are with all persons who might be impacted again by Hurricane Milton.
That was Dr. Kenneth Romer, Director for Aviation. For many years now, the backlog of cases in the criminal justice system has led to long delays, resulting in individuals charged with serious crimes who are initially denied bail being granted bail because their case is not heard in a timely manner. Oftentimes, those individuals commit more serious crimes or themselves become victims of crime, especially to murder. Well, according to Attorney General Ryan Pender, there has been great improvements in the Department of Public Prosecutions since the Davis administration came to office.
The Department of Public Prosecutions. The Department of Public Prosecutions, Madam President, since coming to office has undergone a transformation given the resources it needs to better prosecute cases, and has committed as an agency to relieving the bottleneck of criminal matters in our courts. 3 years ago, Madam President, the DPP was stripped of attorneys, stripped of their prosecutors, with a deficiency in prosecutions which contributed to the backlog of cases in our courts. Many of our prosecutors, when I came to office, Madam President, were assigned elsewhere through the Office of the Attorney General and other government agencies. established, seasoned prosecutors not prosecuting. We quickly committed to the reorganization of the DPP and providing the resources necessary for it to grow and strengthen in its resolve, Madam President. And today we have 44 prosecutors actively prosecuting criminal matters in our courts, and more being hired every month, Madam President.
Pinder says the Prime Minister has given his full support to these improvements and has assured resources will always be available to ensure the courts, the DPP, and the police investigators have the regime necessary to see to it that criminals are charged and prosecuted in a timely manner. He says as a result of the commitment, the backlog of cases is steadily being reduced.
The commitment that we have made to the Department of Public Prosecutions and the criminal justice system has shown results, where we have seen enhanced convictions and enhanced guilty pleas and more cases being disposed of in a timely manner. In 2023, for example, we disposed of 162 criminal matters in the Supreme Court. Remember, last year that would have been with a stable of 30-some prosecutors. In 2024, we're continuing to maintain that momentum in closing out criminal prosecutions. It's one thing to start a case, Madam President. It's an entirely different thing to end a case. It's an entirely different thing. And our goal is to close out these cases and move them through the system and let justice be served.
Pinder was speaking during the Senate meeting to debate the National Intelligence Agency Bill 2024. Since a crackdown by the Department of Inland Revenue, the DIR, to collect taxes owed to the government, the DIR has used the power to garnish or freeze a company's bank account, or in the case of real property tax arrears, Inland Revenue has executed its power of sale and seized properties for auction to satisfy debt owed to the government. Some residents say the Inland Revenue has been overly aggressive in this regard. The Minister of Economic Affairs, Michael Halkitis, was asked if Inland Revenue is being too hasty. He responded like this.
No, not at all. Not at all, not at all, not at all. I say all the time, when you see this happen, this is not the first resort. This is the last resort. And many of those things that you see published, I can say all of them are a combination of people ignoring the department, people telling the department where they can go, people refusing to acknowledge their obligation, people, this is the absolute last resort. These are people who have, and corporations who have outstandings for years and years and years. And when I tell you 10 and 20 years, years. So it's not hasty, not at all. And
Mr. Halkitis says the government has been both patient and fair and really doesn't want to sell anyone's property, as they would rather collect the funds. He explained who owes most of the outstanding real property tax to the government.
And let's say to the public, we're dealing in most cases with foreign-owned properties and commercial properties where people have just not responded. It's not 1 year or 2 years. We're talking 10, 20, sometimes 30 years and so it's a situation where we've written, we've called, we've met, we've sent letters. This is the last resort. So not too hasty, sir. No, not at all. It's a long time coming to this situation. And even now, we have people complaining that, you published 100 properties and you've only sold 3. That because even at this stage, when individuals, you advertise and people come in, the department is prepared to work with them to regularize their situation.
The amnesty period for people owing substantial amounts of real property tax recently expired. And finally, in this segment, after it was announced on Tuesday that Bahamas Power and Light Chief Operations Officer Tony Seymour would replace Siobhan Cambridge as the Chief Executive Officer to the Bahamas Power and Light Company, the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union, the BEWU, their president, Kyle Wilson, released a statement congratulating Seymour on her appointment as the new CEO. The union president also applauded Minister of Energy and Transport JoBeth Kobe Davis and the Davis administration on the historic appointment of Seymour as the first Bahamian female to spearhead the company. Wilson said, as the appointment of Seymour comes amidst the uncertainty of the changes and transitioning with BPL, this shows a positive sign in the right direction, which gives a boost of confidence to the union and to workers at BPL that the current administration is committed to the advancement of the Bahamian people. Mr. Wilson said the BEWU has had a good working relationship with Seymour in her previous post at BPL and look forward to working with her as the current administration is moving to take the country into a new era of energy, which is said to deliver more renewable, reliable, resilient, and most of all, more affordable energy for all Bahamians. You're listening to JCN News. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.